The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. This podcast is hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the sport of bowling. You will get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this generation, who just happens to be the son of a living legend. So, without further ado, let's introduce you to the host of the show, Rad Rob Francois, Dr. Ocho, and the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I'm your host, Rad Rob Francois. Joining me this week, as always, is my co-host. He is also the co-host of my other show, the one that nobody actually listens to, RTW Rewind. It is the sexiest doctor in bowling. The only masked man in bowling, actually, that I know about. It is the one and only Mr. Dr. Tiberius Ocho III. Good evening, sir.
I've been wearing masks when they were actually cool. I still don't like your intro, Rob, but the pictures were better, so at least we got that going for us.
Well, you don't like your picture with Parker? I mean, if it's...
Oh, no. I said the pictures are better. I don't like your intro. That's all. I said the pictures are better.
All right, well, that's fair. I am working on that.
You are.
We have a special guest this week. Do you want to do the intro?
Nope.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, I'm here. That's special. That's pretty much the show.
If you don't know by now, we have a very special guest. He is a PBA superstar, hailing from Yakima, Washington, weighing 165 pounds.
Evel Knievel made a jump in Yakima, Washington, by the way, in 1974.
I had no idea.
Right, he did.
He is a 5-time PBA winner. He's a 2014 Harry Golden Rookie of the Year recipient. He's been on Team USA. He's the best league bowler in Vegas right now. He is. I can see him laughing in the green room. He is joining our third man, the guy with the name on the marquee, JP Jr. It is the one and only Marshall Kent. Johnny and Marshall, good evening, gentlemen.
What's up, gents? Good to see you as usual.
JP got no intro.
It's not often I'm the second best looking man here, and I don't get an intro. But thank you so much for the new pictures. They're lovely.
Well, it's a good thing you're the biggest.
Still got that going for me.
That's true. Marshall, good to have you on the show. Nice to meet you, sir. A big fan of your career. You're one of the top guys in the sport right now. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Yeah, I skipped a tea time for this, so
Man, I feel honored.
You wasted a tea time. Let me tell you, you could have got a quick 9 in and still had a great time down at the casino. We apologize for that. Thank you for this.
It happens. It's all good.
So, Johnny, let us know. You have a very special relationship with Marshall. You guys, you're not just sharing earbuds. I mean, you share one soul. How long have you known Marshall? Where'd you guys first meet?
Honestly, I think that we met out here. I think we met out. It was we met out here in Vegas. I'd say the year that you made it. Were you throwing a defiant soul when you had on the plaid pants in the arena?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2013.
I hate to mention it, but the 7-10. Yeah, so just under 10 years ago. But you know what started happening was I'm about to be 38. Marshall's 28. So when I was younger, my dad always used to admire bowlers that were a little ahead of him, guys, that he looked up to. And as time progresses, what happens is you start getting to the age that you start looking at the people that are going to be better than you ever dreamed of, that are younger than you. So I always took a liking to the way that he threw the ball. And then he just has one of those happy personalities, just people that want to be happy, that people that I don't give a fuck, let's do it attitude. You only live once type attitude. And I think just from there, it's been more of a friendship that not necessarily requires a lot of work. It's just, hey bud, how you doing? You want to come over tonight? Great. If not, I'll see you in a month or so. So it's that kind of personality, and we think just think we mesh well.
I agree.
Marshall, what brought you to Vegas from Washington?
Well, when I was living in Washington, I'm from Central Washington, so I'm over the mountains, and housing prices here were pretty good at the time. And I was flying out every time I fly out to an event. I'd have to drive 2.5 hours to Seattle every time I wanted to go somewhere. So I missed a couple tournaments because there was avalanches over the mountain pass, and so now I live here and I live 10 minutes from the airport, and I can get anywhere I need to go. So it financially and in the sense of bowling on tour, it makes sense at the time.
Practical use, man. That's just smart living.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I had like a good year too, so I had a bunch of money saved up. So I got to buy a house somewhere. So Vegas seemed about right.
Do you enjoy living there? Do you like the desert?
Absolutely. Well, where I'm from is the desert too. So
that's fair.
I'm from over the mountains. So there's literally, if you're driving over from Seattle where it rains 24/7, there's a cutoff line. I was just telling Johnny earlier, there's literally a cutoff where it goes from trees to desert. So, I mean, I grew up in the desert, so I'm used to this.
So it's got nothing to do with the hookers and all that stuff in Vegas, right?
No.
All right, just making sure.
Of course not.
I mean, because you're like I'm in the nice rural area over in Yakima, Washington, and Central, and then I'm gonna find a nice, humble place like Vegas. That's a great place. So
yeah, I moved to Vegas to stay out of trouble.
That's right. I've read the papers, but you're doing a good job if you are staying out of trouble. God bless you for that. That means you got good discipline too, and that's what professionals do.
I do my best.
Marshall, you're going to find out that this show isn't very professional, especially when there's a guy with a fucking mask sitting right over there.
That's my personality.
Who's got a mask
exactly.
on?
So I knew from being friends with Johnny, you'd be a perfect fit. I do want to get into kind of how you got into bowling, and then I'd really love to talk about life on the tour. But before we get into that, we do have to mention the 2022 playoffs. We just had the semifinal round this past Sunday. Hold on, Brett. Thank you, Brett, for checking in. He's here.
Thank you.
He's been here every week. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. See you soon, bro.
That's so weak. That's like freaking Keith Yando's Iron Man streak when he shows up for one shift and then freaking bolts it.
It counts, dude.
Jesus.
It counts.
Whatever.
He started the game. It counts. It counts.
Whatever. You could get to the fifth inning at least, you poser.
So we just Iron Man, I think the next mask for you is an Iron Man mask.
Agreed.
That's a great idea, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to have.
I don't want to lift the prestige of the Iron Man mask up even more with guns and iron on the same page.
Oh, Christ! 9 minutes in, he's already flexing. Anyway, getting to the semifinal round of the 2022 PBA Playoffs, which has moved centers. It moved from the Kegel Training Center. Johnny, let me ask you this: Why? Why did they move it after all these weeks of bowling at Kegel? Why move to Jupiter?
Do you know the actual answer to that one?
Because of the big red wiffle bat. That's why.
Still the greatest name I've ever seen. I'm not sure. I'm sure it had to do something with scheduling. Maybe KTC has something going on this weekend where it didn't work out. So I know Bolero Jupiter has been kind of a popular spot for some tape-delayed shows. I think they did I want to say they did the playoffs there last year too, but I don't remember. But it's convenient to travel to. I bowled one of the Bolero Elite Series there, and you just fly in, and the center's 10 minutes from the airport or something like that, maybe if I remember right. But just convenience to travel, I'm sure, and something about maybe scheduling. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know all the details, but I have to guess something along those lines.
Yeah, that makes sense. Johnny, they made it known, the commentators did, of the ridiculous pin action back in Kegel. But from what we've seen this past Sunday, it was pretty fucking. The pins were rocking at Jupiter as well. A lot of messengers, dude, sick messengers on the show too. What do you make of that, Johnny?
I didn't see it that way.
I didn't either.
My predictions were I thought that Troop was going to bowl TJ, and that the scores are going to be significantly lower regardless of how easy the lane condition was, simply because of the kickboards. And the scoring pace was low in comparison. And the only really memorable strikes that I have in my mind was Prather whiffing the head pin and striking, and buckling the 3-6-9 like dominoes. So other than that, to me, it looked like a mixture of a lot of different things on that show, but the scoring base is exactly where I thought it would be coming out of the training center.
And a few years ago, we bowled a PBA clash at the training center. And during practice before the show, I think it was Belmo, EJ, and I were literally trying to flat 10 for a solid hour. Couldn't do it. Couldn't flat 10. So then the irony
too
was
much everything kicking the 10 out.
So, it kicked the 10 every time.
Nonstop.
And it was just ironic that Dom flat 10 to lose to me.
Yeah.
It's the only flat 10 I saw the whole week.
I'll ask you first, Marshall. What did you think of the first match with Prather and Troop?
I didn't really watch it, but
okay.
I saw a highlight on one of the shots. I think he needed the first shot in the 10th to win, and just completely whiffed the head pin.
He whiffed it completely. That's what I saw.
And he thought he aced it, which kind of tends to happen. I think it's a topography thing, or maybe got around it a hair and it shot through the break point. But I mean, when they're that difficult, that's pretty easy to do. It doesn't take a whole lot to miss.
Marshall on the track tracer, he followed it the whole way, and then it just literally kept going. And it wasn't like he overthrew it. It was, that pro tracer gimmick that they do, and it like overlaps the perfect shot. He had it right on track, and then it just went about a foot further and then broke. And I think he washed out, or I think he might have kicked out the 10 pin, but it was like the ball was right on track where he thought it was going. Just never made the turn.
You'd be so surprised how many times that happens on tour. Like we'd get up there, throw a shot, thought we aced it, and pose, and it's like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
So that's just part of bowling is difficult. We're bowling on an invisible playing field,
right?
And we don't know where the spots are where it just shoots through it and all that stuff. So, he did all he could from the foul line back, and from the foul line forward didn't cooperate.
Yeah, I for whatever reason the ball just went longer, and I know the urethane was going longer anyway. We especially with Troop, but I mean Prather thought he threw a good shot, and for whatever reason it just stayed long and never kicked back. Johnny, any idea? Like, did he just hit a wet board? Like, did the oil move around in that one spot? Like, what do you think attributed to that?
If we're gonna talk about Prather personally, dude, that's the most human he's ever looked to me.
He don't miss. That's just it.
He just looked like he made a lot of dreadful shots. He looked like me bowling league for a game.
Yeah,
that's honestly what I observed the most. The shot, how the hell does that?
Classic, though.
That's also true. The shot that he says, how does that one not hook? I get it. I've been in that. I've felt that way too in league. I felt that way throwing a Black Widow Ghost, and I'm like, how the hell does that not hook? But it just in general, he looked, I don't want to say he was nervous, because I don't think Prather was nervous, but he was certainly out of sorts, the same way I've watched Rory McIlroy shoot 83 in the last round at Augusta.
When he had the lead by 4.
When he had the lead by 4, he just bowled like shit. I just personally think that he bowled like shit on that show. I mean, missed the head pin right, missed the head pin left. How many times do you see a professional do that in a frame?
And it wasn't even like he missed a few times. A lot of the guys missed a few times, though. So I don't know if just everything got slopped down or whatnot because of my vast bowling knowledge and such. But I'll let you guys take the rest of that comment.
Is it him missing, or is it him just trying to be stubborn and make the shot that he wants work? What do you think of that, Johnny?
No, I personally think that he got into a funk on that show, Rob. I think he couldn't get out of his own way. Yeah. I think that he legit could, like, he felt, if you've ever heard the expression, he's in a phone booth, he feels completely locked up. You can't just uncoil the yo-yo, so to speak.
And it's just one of those days where just like, it doesn't matter how much you practice, how much you prepare. It's just one of those days where everything that can go against you goes against you. Like, it doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it,
And you only got 2 games. I mean, even though, you guys are usually bowling 8-game blocks and whatnot, so you can have your bad game. You that's the hard part about the step ladder or this format, where you only get 2 games. I mean, it's only 24 shots technically, right? Did I add that right?
Well, yeah. And on top of that, too, you only get like 8 shots of warm-up before the show. So, once you make a decision, you commit to it because you're like, all right, this looks like the one. And all of a sudden, 3 shots in, it's the wrong decision. Now you're kind of scrambling to try to figure it out.
You're committed, or you have to, and you don't have time to freaking make a big change. You have to do whatever your body thinks is going to happen, or your ball. I don't even know if you get to talk to the ball rep. What do I know?
Yeah, we do.
All right, there you go.
I mean, it's.
I'd say cheat at that point.
Game.
Doesn't that take away from the athletic ability? And that's my whole gimmick about this, man. This is the problem. So you got the wrong ball. He threw the right shot. He threw the wrong ball. How is that an indication of how a non-athletic fella he is? Anyway, it's like using a damn big red wiffle bat. It makes it easier for people, makes it harder for. I use that little slim yellow one always because I'm an athlete. It just makes me mad that it doesn't show that he hit the right spot. He threw it where he wanted to, but because he had the wrong thing, I don't hit a 7-iron instead of a 2-iron. I can't hit a 2-iron, but so I get the difference. It's just that this asymmetrical ball, you got the wrong one in your hand, and then you lose $100,000.
So you're the one that hits blades and ends up 20 yards short of the green every time.
I putt from like 50 yards out, so don't worry. Texas wedges all the way.
I support
Johnny Prather's a big money bowler. Like, he's been in these situations before. What do you attribute to him just not getting his head back in the game? Like Marshall said, we all have bad days. Anybody can have a bad game, but for whatever reason, he just couldn't get back in. Even in the second game, he just couldn't get his head back into it. What do you think went wrong?
I honestly just believe that first off, they were definitely slightly. Would you agree they were more difficult than Kegel?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, let's keep in mind, aside from missing the headpin 4 times, he also went runaway Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Remember when he almost missed the headpin going away from the pins? Yeah.
They swam and mixed up.
Yeah. And he left my double wood. He left a 3-9, which was a miraculous, awesome spare, by the way.
Yeah.
That tells you a multitude of things. Now he's trying to overcorrect the fan out to the rail. He's trying out the window, and he's over adjusting so bad that even the little tiny intricacies or the changes that he makes in his hand, he can't use them anymore to his advantage now, because now whatever he's feeling is happening twice as much to create that much of a miss in the opposite direction.
Could he have jumped way to the right and just fed it around? I don't know if he had a urethane ball or what, but because I don't know anything about that.
Me personally, I know what it feels like to be in a funk like that, where out of nowhere you feel like you cannot hit the broadside of a barn. My go-to is usually more firm and more forward, just at least for in the interim of if I'm
stay in play, basically. So
yeah, tighten everything up, stay more behind it, reach more forward through my target when I let it go, keep it in front of me, limit my misses to at least one direction. But again, if you're working yourself through an 18-game qualifier or a 14-game qualifier, that's one thing. But when you're in a 2-game match on television, you don't have time to squeeze yourself in that zone until you kick your bad habits a half hour from now,
And Kyle threw your thing on the show, didn't he?
He did.
He threw a fast pitch, and then I think he switched. I think he threw a fast pitch and a pitch black, and then he switched to a trend 2 on the left lane.
He moved a little left on a few of the throws, I think.
He switched to the trend 2 on the left lane. Yeah.
Yeah, he tried to make the urethane work on the right lane for sure.
The urethane was definitely the way
that was
to go
the play
on that lane. Because that lane was funky down lane.
Yeah.
Or and then of course is consequently or coincidentally that switches when they go to the TJ match. Yeah, the other lane.
Yes, for sure. Now we talked a lot about Prather, but Johnny, but what did you think of Kyle Troop's performance?
I thought Kyle bowled great. I think that he had a game plan and it worked, and he executed shots that he needed to. When you watch that breakpoint shape and you see those guys got to be really, really clean at the bottom. They got to be committed to their shot. They got to get the ball to that target, and there is not that large of a zone there for them to miss by. It's if they're missing that tracer, it's 1.5, 2 boards outside of what they're looking at down lane, it's 2-8-10. If it's a smidge low on the ball speed or just a little bit too touch and grab at the bottom, that's big 4.
Unlike that disgraceful house shot.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I mean, I did just get done bowling 580 last night, so I mean,
Well, don't feel so bad.
You're on a pro condition. No one has to know what you bowled on. You're a professional. You bowl on professional conditions. We don't have to tell the truth here.
You're in Johnny territory right now. Johnny's in a funk in his league too, so
it's atrocious.
He didn't say he only bowled 2 games. That's just it.
I wish it was 2 games.
So pros, it's like Ishmael from Kingpin. He Marshall bowls less. Ishmael bowls way more.
15 frame games.
That's right. Which, by the way, if you average 265, 270 for 15, you're pretty shitty.
That's fair. No, that's your.
I wonder if anyone ever did the math.
It's not good.
I don't think anyone ever has.
Well, maybe you don't have the 3 in the 15th. Maybe it's just only a 1-framer gimmick. You know, it's like maybe you don't have the potential for 3 strikes.
If I had 15 frames last night, I still would have shot 190.
Wow, that's rough. Yeah, that's brutal.
With the big red wiffle bat. Damn it.
So, Johnny, what do you think of the second match between Tommy Jones and AJ Johnson? It was pretty entertaining.
I thought that, again, I enjoy watching both of those guys bowl. I thought, I can't believe they both missed a 2-pin and a 4-pin.
We expect AJ
it was like back to
pairs.
back or something, wasn't it? Too, I think.
Yeah.
We talked about last week. AJ has. Sorry, Johnny.
Sorry, you go, Rob. What were you gonna say?
We talked about last week how AJ kind of always chokes, right? When he needs to make the shot in the big time, and that's why they keep saying he's the best guy to never win a title. So I almost expected from him, but it was a little alarming that he missed. You know,
just to quote it, nobody said he chokes. What he said was the pressures are, because now you're gonna freaking piss people off, Rob. Jesus, come on, we're a professional podcast here, for crying out loud. What he said was the advantage goes to the guy that's been there, the guy that's been around the block a few times, like Ocho. When Ocho's hanging around with the ladies, he's been around the block a few times. So it's a little bit of an advantage to TJ because the pressure won't get to him as much. Don't be poking out professionals or choking and whatnot.
I calls them like I sees them, Ouch.
You ain't calling. Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I think they both technically choked. Then one made a less of a choke than the other.
That's a true story.
I hate the term choking because I can promise you none of the guys out there are scared to throw the shot. Like
of course, but they've been there.
It's just sometimes like AJ threw the one in the 10th in the roll off, and he said he thought he aced it.
Yeah.
And that's all you do. Like, it feels good off the hand. You know it's good. Like, it's one thing where it's just something happens. You're like, I just threw a bad shot. Like, I fry out more when I know I threw it good and it doesn't end up the result than when I throw it bad. Because if I throw it bad, it's like, I suck.
At least you knew why it was bad. Now when you throw it good, now you're like, shit, now what do I do?
Yeah. And I thought if I thought I'd let it go great, everything felt great, looked great, then I'm assuming it's going to strike. But when it doesn't, it's like, what the hell happened? And kind of the same thing in AJ's case. Like, he did everything he could in that moment, and he wasn't scared of the moment. I promise that. It just didn't work out. So I wouldn't call that a choke at all.
His creeped only a little high, right?
A choke is when you succumb to the pressure and throw a horrible shot, and you were antsy and nervous and just absolutely gagged it.
Which I think happened to AJ a few weeks ago, honestly.
Didn't
he whiff the 10 pin or whiff the head pin a few weeks ago?
Well, no, he told me after that show he almost fell on his ass because he slipped so fast.
Oh, God. Okay. And that makes sense, too. And you know what? Yeah. And that's something that it's almost like the slightest little thing can go wrong that you've repeated so many times. A misstep, you stub your toe.
And the worst part about it, too, is that the approaches were tacky. So, it was impossible to slip. And it's the one shot he hit, like that one spot where it just slipped. There it is.
There's headphone drop.
All right. That's just passion, buddy.
But yeah, no, because he was staying in my house that week, and we're kind of talking about it a little bit. And he said, "Dude, it was the first time that whole week I've actually slipped."
Wow.
Rob, what's going on with the chat here? Is anybody in here? What are we doing? Come on, we got a big show tonight, man.
Everyone's enjoying the conversation, so they're being kind of quiet.
I want to say something about that too. I think that I've heard a lot of people say that AJ thought he aced that one in the 10th, the one that he 3-6-7-10 on. And I'm a huge AJ supporter, and I agree with Marshall in the respect that no, I don't necessarily think that he choked at all, especially if he thinks that he aced the shot. But to me, this shot looked grabby. He looked like he got a handful at the bottom, and it maybe looked a smidge soft because it was so grabby. That's what I distinctly remember watching that show and seeing it at the Arrow saying, well, that one can't not go high. But I don't know, maybe I had like a keen eye for that particular shot because I'm so used to watching AJ's ball roll. Who knows? But other than that, I didn't expect him. I thought when he flushed it in the 9th, I thought for sure he was getting up and doubling in the 10th. I really, really believe that. It kind of shocked me this time. I think that AJ got to a point by making it to the round of 4 for the semifinals that he knows where he belongs, where he is. And kind of, it was the same syndrome that Bill O'Neill had. Remember how long it took Bill O'Neill to win?
True.
And everybody knew for all that time, it doesn't matter. He's one of the best out there. He's going to win 10 times. It's just a matter of when he wins the first one. AJ's experiencing the same thing.
That game, did TJ screwed up at the very end, right? To leave AJ the chance to win the game before the playoff, right? I thought Jones was like winning most of the game, and then like it was like the 9th or 10th frame, and Jones. Oh, didn't Jones open in the 10th? Help us out here, somebody, Rob.
Oh, God, why can I not remember?
Rob, you're the one that's been sending the links. You should know.
Exactly.
TJ did 248.10 somewhere. Yes, he 248.10 for 170 something, and then AJ got up and been bowled 190.
And AJ had lost the first game, so he needed that for the roll off.
Yes,
he needed a mark.
Yes, that's correct. AJ needed the mark. Yes.
Great analyst.
Come on, Ouch. You know.
I mean, no dig at Tommy or anybody, but we've all 2-8-10 big four to lose in the 10th multiple times, hundreds of times. We'll do 100 times more. But like I said earlier, it's not because of nerves. It's just because some shit just happens in the moment. Sometimes you throw a bad shot or you think you ace it and then end up with the worst possible scenario. Like if AJ 4 pins instead of 3, 6, 7, 10s, then all of a sudden Tommy needs the first one in the 10th to win. And that's a whole different scenario for Tommy. And, I've seen him throw clutch shots in his life. I've seen him miss a couple times, but, more often than not, he comes through with it. So, whether he comes through with it, if he knows he needs that one or not, if I would put money on anybody, it'd be Tommy. But, going through his head, I don't know if that scenario changes or not. Knowing you need a mark versus like an actual strike kind of changes your mindset a little bit sometimes, depending on who you are. And
but here's my gripe, and here's what's great about you being here, because there's too many league bowlers that think that the freaking shot is a 10 board freaking leeway. So now the professional, has to bowl on these freaking little teensy oil can type freaking lanes where if you miss by a half an inch in one direction, it overhooks. You miss by a half an inch in the other direction, you freaking pick off the 10 pin if you're a righty. And people just don't understand that. And they still don't emphasize that about how damn hard it is. And that's what bothers me the most. And that's why I'm not going to shave my hair until this gets to be an actual thing in the grand scheme of sport.
You have this much room to hit at 45 feet. Good luck.
Exactly. The size of Rob's teensy schmeckle. That's how little you have.
His little yellow wiffle bat.
Exactly. If you had a big red wiffle bat, you'd be able to hit that freaking tracer down the lane.
I would like to take this time to apologize to my guests for pissing him off when I used the word choke, because apparently I struck a nerve. That's not the intention that I had when I made that statement, but I was just trying to convey that maybe AJ, has had the chance to close out matches and for whatever reason hasn't. So that's what I meant by that. I didn't mean that he's a hack or he buckles under pressure. It's just wrong choice.
I promise you, he's not scared to throw that shot.
I will say this to kind of defend where your thought process is, because let's say it could be something as minuscule as this. Let's say the last time AJ was on television in a pressure situation and he got up and he needed a mark to win and he left a 2-4-8-10. Yep. What's up, Rosie? And he left a 2-4-8-10, which means now he's a little bit light in the pocket. He threw it a little bit too hard. Maybe he got a little bit too amped up. AJ's an emotional cat. Now maybe he's saying to himself, man, maybe my emotions really got the best of me, And subconsciously, I threw that shot in the 10th frame a half mile an hour faster than I had the previous 10. Now he's thinking about that going into this shot in the 10th frame, and his number one thought in his head is to make sure he doesn't repeat the exact same mistake that he did in the previous show that he lost on, which is go light and gas it through the break point.
And then overcompensate.
Comes to this show, gets down, aces it, puts every ounce he has of his hand and his entire body into the shot, and it overhooks. In a strange way, it's another way to not make a light bulb if you want to go that route. But what he's doing is he's slowly but surely figuring out exactly what he needs to feel mentally and physically the next time he needs one. And I just think that some people's learning process for that happens faster than others. Some never get it, and some are born with it and have it for their entire lives.
JP, that's like your dad when he said he threw that freaking 298 when his pants were so tight you could almost see his freaking balls. And he said, I'll never do that again. And sure enough, he gets the opportunity and he freaking buries the shit out of it and pays for your college with it. And then builds a shed, by the way. Or did he ever build that shed?
Oh, yeah.
Greatest interview ever. He don't build shit. Somebody built it for him.
You know what he put? You know what he put? He built a shed in the yard to store all the pool equipment and shit, you know? You know what we used it as? You know what we used the shed for?
A dartboard area.
Bowling ball storage.
No kidding. That's great. Right. I probably have a few of them right now.
Probably do. Yeah.
He just puts balls in the shed, then he donates them to high schools. Next year he puts balls in the shed and he donates them to high schools.
He could build pyramids and whatnot. But anyway, back to the point. So he said, I'll never make that mistake because I know what that felt like.
Right.
And so maybe it takes 2 times for somebody. Maybe, for me, none, 0, obviously. But for normal people.
Well, they say it's just like poker, man. You never remember the huge hands that you won, but you certainly remember the hands
every
that
loss,
you lost.
Buddy.
Yep. Right? Every suck out on the fucking river.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're always going to remember what not to
you
do
lost
in a
a
situation.
Football game by 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And that holds true in pretty much anything, in at least our experience.
Is that that's makes it tougher. Think about that. Like that's negative energy. That's negative tone in your head. That's even though you're saying I want to correct it, you have the I did this instead of erasing the platform. So that's why professionals are what they are, and amateurs have to bowl on a big red wiffle bat pattern.
And still bitch about it. I'm one of them.
Easy.
I got pissed off last week. I actually was vocal about it at the bowling alley.
Really?
I pulled a muscle. I pulled a muscle in my arm, legit. Bocce balled it. 221 with 2 opens.
Oh, bocce ball, yeah.
That's the Italian version. And then I had to sit out. I had to sit out the third game. And use my 258 average, which is 248 with the 10-pin drop off.
Now,
it's not a 258 average.
Is that a skill injury? Is that a sport injury?
I should have pretty good tendon strength, but it's an overuse for sure. Not from bowling.
I'm sure.
Marshall, let me ask you this: if AJ is one of the best to never win a title, do you think Johnny Petraglia Jr. is one of the best minds in the game without being on tour?
Say it again.
If AJ is one of the best to never win a title, do you think Johnny Petraglia Jr. is one of the best to never be on the tour? He's got a great mind for the game. Like, I'm amazed by his knowledge every single week.
He knows exactly what it takes to be out there. So he knows everything about what it takes to be on tour. And he's just a walking encyclopedia.
It really is.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So speaking of being on tour, something Johnny wanted to get into, and I thought it was a great topic since we have you on, is what is life like on the PBA Tour? Take us through a typical week when you start out. What's your, do you have certain habits you like to follow? What's your typical week look like?
Well, normally have a practice session the day before qualifying happens. We bowl for a couple hours.
Well, how early do you get in town, actually? Let's start with that. Like, we're going to go in depth on this one here because I brought this topic up a while ago. Like, you get in town the day prior, you get in town, like, obviously, or you have your hotel picked out, you have, like, eateries.
There's two.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
I won the bet over our 1.5. So, it really depends because our tour schedules kind of vary every year. So there's actually some times where we bowl the show one day in one city and have to drive to the next city right after that show to get there in time for practice session the next day. But there's also times where we have a couple of days off and we can go either be tourists or like lay low for a couple of days. Normally we show up the day before practice session because sometimes there's a pro-am that night or something like that. So we'll bowl practice and then sometimes we'll bowl the pro-am. At some events we bowl the pro-am after we're done. So
do you travel with somebody, or do you like just show up and like you have your buddies, or like this is the real nuts and bolts here?
Well, so usually I drive. So either I'll have somebody drive with me, or I'll take somebody's stuff, or but I usually room with AJ most of the tour.
The guy Rob's been ripping on.
No wonder he's pissed off of it.
We'll get like Airbnbs, or sometimes there's two of us. We'll get a hotel. This last season I didn't book a hotel room until I got to the city.
Wow,
like super last minute. I didn't plan anything in advance. So it just kind of depends on how you bowl that week. You know, if obviously we don't bowl well, miss the cut, then we'll go to like a different city and hang out with some buddies and kind of just lay low for a few days and then go to the next stop. But like I said before, there's also times where we get done bowling the show. I think one year I made the players show and then had to drive from, Columbus to Lincoln, Nebraska the next day. It was like 13 hours.
Wow.
Just to make it in time to get there that night for the practice session.
So so are you eating like gas station Slim Jims and whatnot? Are you know what I'm saying? Like, are you hopped up on energy drinks and like this is the stuff? Because I'm structured like with my meals. Like I'm so fascinated with like you got to find a Waffle House, or you got to find. You got to eat a couple hours before you practice or something like that. Like this
Waffle
is the
House
stuff
is
that,
awesome.
Of course.
Yes.
Hash brown scattered, some other double covered chunk. That's all right. We understand that, but no. But seriously, like it's you like planning. You have to. I assume like you're still want to be at peak performance, so you want to plan your meals at a certain time. So you're having your little meal bar halfway through, something like that. Like this is
the problem is we can't really plan meals too much because like there's some events we don't get out of bowling center until 10 o'clock at night, and McDonald's is the only thing to open.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is what we want to know, man. This is exactly it. Like you're at the mercy of the horse stop at this
pretty
point.
much. Yeah, pretty much depending on what city we're in. I know there's some stops where we bowl where, like I said, we don't get out of the center until 10, 11 at night. We got to be back the next morning. So we just drive through, get something quick, and then go to bed. There's other ones where, like, let's say US Open, we have the morning block.
All right, take us through that. Take us through that. There, start with that, if you don't mind. Take us through that. Like you bowled the morning, and then what?
And then, after a morning block with the US Open, the Masters, our first block's at 8 o'clock in the morning, but then we don't bowl again until like 6 p.m. the next day.
So you got all this.
So
okay, there you
go. If we're in like a warm climate, let's say we're here in Vegas, we'll go play a round of golf and then find some dinner and just kind of lay low after that. And
you'll sneak around to golf in between blocks, like knowing you might tweak your back. Look, that's what athletes do, man.
Oh, we ain't scared of tweaking our back.
That's awesome.
Just because our birth certificate says we're born in 92 doesn't mean that our bodies aren't 84 years old.
I graduated in 92. Oh my god.
Yeah. So we'll just find some stuff to kill some time. We might go see the sights or whatever, and just find a way to kill time and get our minds off bowling until we have to get back to it the next day. But there's also other times where, like the World Series, we're bowling 2 5-game blocks, so we show up at the center at 11. And then we have to bowl again at 5 or 6 in the evening. And then after we're done, we got to find some place to eat and go to sleep because we're right back at it the next day. So it really depends on the event. And
I'm going to roll back to the U.S. Open. So your morning block, you were done by 1, 2 o'clock. You snuck a quick twilight in. The next day, you don't bowl till you said 6-ish or something, right?
Yeah.
So, are you sleeping in, or do you want to be up early and fresh, or you want to rest up? You want to sleep in and make sure.
Definitely.
What's that?
Definitely.
Okay.
And if I wake up early, I'm definitely laying in bed resting. Like I'm not getting out and doing anything hardcore physical.
Nothing break or a pregame nap kind of thing, almost like a basketball or a hockey guy. Okay, so you got and then you get there 3-4 o'clock ish.
Usually about an hour before we start.
And there's how long is practice again? You said 30 minutes, I think you said, right?
Depends. Usually we have,
all right, ish.
The majority of the time we have 10 minutes of practice before we start bowling for score.
Oh, right, because this is your second block anyway, so you've already.
Yeah. So, we'll get to the center an hour early, make sure our surface prep's right, make sure our thumbs fit and everything, and then we'll stretch out.
Jeez,
make
10 freaking minutes. Holy shit.
Just to try to take advantage of that 10-minute warm up before. And, obviously we just got done bowling either 8 games or 16 games or whatever your squad time lands on. You got to get loose because 10 minutes ain't enough time for a lot of people to get loose. So you got to do everything you can before that. Like a lot of times I'll actually go to the gym a few hours before just to kind of get the blood flowing and get the body moving.
Get the heart rate up and get your body so you don't have that crazy adrenaline rush / dump too. You'll kind of stay a little even. You're talking 8 games too. That's the other thing people don't get. League bowlers, you bowl your 3 games. Most are spent. You guys got to bowl 8, and it's a structured 8, man. You're up on the freaking approach every 20-something seconds or so, it seems.
Yeah, it's quick, but
and then you bowl the next morning again because the U.S. Open's 3 blocks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so usually you bowl. It depends on the squad you bowl, but you have an 8 a.m. squad, a 2 p.m. squad, and a 6 p.m. squad, or there's somewhere around that, like 8.
So whatever 6. Each is each, so it's all even out.
Yeah, and you bowl each of them one time. So, depending on the squad, you got to, obviously, if you bowl an 8 a.m. squad, I'm going to sleep until the very last second that I can before I need to get to the center and get ready. So I try to stay close to the center within probably 10 minutes so I can sleep till 6:40 and then take 10 minutes to get ready in the morning and then be at the center by 7. And, it works out great when, we bowl in the evening because we get the whole day to kill. So I just lay in bed and watch Netflix all day.
And you get that morning poop out too. That's the other problem that people don't ever address, man. Like, I don't know how people do that. Like, that's literally something that's got to be really talked about. The morning poop on an early squad.
I walked out to the bathroom and said, that feels like a 200 over dump.
This is what we get on Straight Up 5. Finally, the real nuts and bolts of what goes on.
In-depth, hard-hitting, yes.
And then you got your baby wipes, so that's good. This way you can't have crumbs in your drawers. I get that.
Dude wipes.
Or same thing. Yeah, man. Now we're promoting. Now we got to get some advertisers for the show.
There we go. We got it.
We need dude wipes.
So now also
I can't tell you how many times I walked to the bathroom and said that, and then I've actually gone 200 over.
That's the commercial right there. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. And then they show, and then like live coverage of, an 8-game block. He's plus 190 in the last game or something. So now is there scoreboard watching in a third block? I assume, like, obviously you're trying to anchor where you are. And which also has to dial up the nerves a bit, and depending on what block you're in too. So
it's stressful. I've done that watch plenty of times. Especially if you bowl one of the first 2 squads. Like it's much less stressful when you bowl the evening squad the last day because you know the number you got to hit and you're in full control of it. But if you bowl one of the first 2 blocks and you have to sit and wait, a lot of times they'll have to roll off that evening to make the cut the next day. So you're just sitting there like adding numbers.
You can lose it on the bench.
Oh yeah. Man. Oh yeah. I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the side where I have to sit there and watch for like 3 hours and then I'm out of the cut, or I sit there and watch for a couple hours. Like I'm in, I got it. So it's stressful.
Man, I'm telling you, and I think this
get gray hair so early.
But this is also this is legit theater, though. That's my whole thing, man. I think the story is so great. The whole story of a tournament. That's why golf is on 4 days. That story plays out. That theater plays out. And bowling really could have something with this. I mean, whatever. Maybe it's me, but like. The stress of that, watching that happen, it's out of your hands. There's the pressure on that guy because that guy now has your life in his hands. He's deciding whether you're going to make a shit ton more money or not. And I think that story in theater is so damn dramatic that it could be so powerful if they explained it right and showed it right. But apparently there's no platform yet. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've made a cut when someone needs to like double in 10th and they go up and just ace one or ring 10 or stone 8 or blower 7 or something like that.
Did everything they had to, and they just, it's the law, bad geometry, I guess.
Yep. Exactly. It's round objects hitting round objects. You never
Amazing.
know what's
Oh, dude, I'm
Bill
telling you.
Burton.
Yeah.
That shit is really all, and I just wish that's why the house shot ruined everything, because it's almost like they're hitting it with a square object. It's almost like they're hitting it with a giant freaking paddle down the freaking lane. But I'm telling you, that theater and story beyond the sport. That's why the sports are still the same, but yet you can still watch them. Aaron Judge hits a freaking 3-run home run on a hanging slider last night, and it was freaking crazy. I mean, we've seen it a million times, but the theater and the drama is still different. And that's what bowling has, and that's what I wish they could just promote. Sorry, I'm getting out of control because I got these.
So how do you stay mentally tough, Marshall, when you're bowling that many games, and you know, how do you kind of try to stay even keel?
That's the funny part, is that a lot of people out there still don't get that mindset. It's that, like, let's say US Open, you got 56 games before you make the show.
Yeah.
So people fry out when they shoot 150 game 3. It's like you got 21 more games before you even make the cut. Like, what are you mad about? You got plenty of time to make up for that. And it's just, they're just so focused on this game right now. The result of this impacts their tournament, that they forget that, oh, I got 21 more games. I'm barely through the tournament. And they just kind of fizzle off. And, you know, it's just why you see the same people on major shows all the time, because they have that mindset. Like, they can start off bad, but, you know, they know they're going to recover from it. Whereas some people just throw that bad game. It's like, oh, my week's ruined, I'm on to the next one. Like,
and think about 56 games. That's a half of a league, of a winter league.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, that's the
days.
part that people don't freaking get, man.
In 5 days. And that's not even, and then you just get to the show.
And that, right. That's right.
Yeah. And then you still got to bowl the show the next day.
There's I don't know. I mean, it's like, it is, what I do dig about it is, like, you know, you have to be in, there's a thing called bowling shape, clearly. And I've said this, you know, like, if you threw 2 bowling balls at the same time, you're symmetrical. You probably won't hurt yourself. But throwing one heavy object on one side of your body with twist and rotation, thrust, you know, you're so apt for these accessory muscle damage that the real true part of it is lasting the week of bowling.
Yeah. I've actually, it's funny. Last time I went to the chiropractor was a long time ago. My right
they
shoulder
suck, by the way.
My right shoulder was actually 3 inches lower than my left because of bowling.
My dad's got to be similar to that too.
Yeah,
no kidding.
He walks like this around the kitchen.
You're gonna be knuckle dragging on one side and over here like scratching your hip on the other.
That's a good question, because Tim Brunswick wants to know: do the professionals have doctors, physical therapists, etc., at all the events in case you need them?
Not personal ones, but a lot of events we go to will have a chiropractor on site or like a massage therapist that we can go to and get fixed up however we need. I personally don't take advantage of those because I don't know. I just haven't.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of guys that take advantage of getting massage therapy and chiropractic work and all that just to make sure their body's in tune for the next day. So,
do you not go because it's a stranger and you only want to go to yours? Is that what your thing is, or?
No, because I don't have a massage therapist I go to or a chiropractor.
Oh, well, you just said your arm was 3 inches lower, or you just had a consult.
That was my one chiropractic visit. It's the one time I ever.
And he gave you such bad news, you never went back.
Yeah, I've heard that, like, if you go back multiple times, it's not be as sore, but like I went and everything was back in line, but boy, my right shoulder hurts so bad.
If you got any questions, you hit me up off the channel at the Dr. Ocho on Twitter. There's my Twitter handle, damn it.
Mike McGlynn asked that he take squats with me, so your service isn't even needed right now. So thanks anyway, Oach.
No, good. That's axial compression. That'll really screw up his discs. I love it.
Johnny mentioned, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, how he really didn't like the 2-game format when it comes to the current stepladder finals. But if you remember back in the day on ABC, it was just, you know, 1 game and you're out. What do you prefer, Marshall? Like, if you had your perfect scenario
in my perfect scenario, I don't mind the 1-game stepladder. I would like to see the tournament leader have 2 games to win it.
That's what Johnny said.
You've already won. You're leading the event, and in golf, if you obviously come out on top of the leaderboard Sunday, you win.
Yep.
I'd like to see the top seed get 2 games to, obviously if you work the ladder, you got to beat the top seed twice. That would be my ideal scenario, because I don't disagree with the step ladder, because obviously it's entertaining, and it's just bowling. Like it's never going to go away. We're always going to have step ladders, but to be able to earn the top seed, you got to have some sort of advantage other than just guaranteeing yourself second. You got to have an extra game to be able to lock up the title. And I think that winning percentage for the top seed would go way up, because obviously the guy that's coming into that match has had a game already and they won and they're comfortable, whereas you're just coming in fresh,
coming in cold,
maybe a little nerves, not know what's going on with the pair, and just to be able to have that, know that you have that second game to win would loosen your arm swing up so much. So that would be my ideal scenario.
Do you guys think that there's a way possibly that the differential between first, second, third would dictate a handicap almost? No, you can't do a handicap, because that or how many games you'd have to beat them by. Like, I mean, if you got the top seed by 1 pin, hey, the second seed guy didn't really do too bad. You got the top seed by 300, okay, then beat him by 2, or beat him twice. I don't know. It's
maybe give him a 10-pin advantage.
No, the thing is, you bowl so many games, that 1 pin could have come out of anywhere.
Right.
So,
or a bonus pin for that matter. That's the other thing. That's, because I almost feel like if only they can't do it the way golf does it, because then a guy could never even be caught on a Sunday or something like that.
Let me give you this scenario. If someone leads a tournament with 600, you're not going to give them a 600 pin handicap, because
no, of course not. But no, what I mean is, like, is that mean like for every 100 pins you got to win by a pin for every 2? I don't know. I would, or like you said, the 2-game gimmick, something like that.
I think a 2-game would be fair, because if I go into the match knowing that I have a handicap, and I win, I'm not really feeling great about that, because I had an advantage going in, where I'd rather beat someone straight up.
No, the handicap was a wrong choice of words on my part, because I was trying to think of like the discrepancy.
I get where you're coming from, but like I said, there shouldn't be an advantage either way. It's just you bowl your frames heads up, and whoever comes out on top comes out.
What if they did away with bonus pins and it made just total pinfall the same thing, and then you go from there? I don't know.
We've done that a couple times, and if you bowl long enough on tour, the bonus pins end up working out. It evens out. You can go in a 24-game format, you can go 20-4, or you can go 10-14 and average the same. But over the long term, everything works out. It evens out on its own. So
I assume they know better than we do, us yahoos, obviously.
It's just putting yourself there enough times to let it even out. So, I mean, I've made shows where I should have finished 7th, but I ended up qualifying my 3rd because of bonus pins and just who I got at the right time. But there's also other times where I've averaged 2nd, but I finished 9th.
That's true. It's like winning a game like 190 to 170. You get bonus pins on that, and that's true too. That's a good point.
And then sometimes you shoot 250 and lose, and
lose by 5. Right.
You lose by 5, and you lose 30 pins because of that. But it in the long run, it all evens out.
Yeah, Johnny. Let me ask you this: you're an encyclopedia of knowledge. Can you think, just off the top of your head? Let's just even think about like the 80s, early 90s. Can you think of the percentages of top seeds losing as opposed to winning? Like, do you think the top seeds have lost more often because of the fact that they're coming in cold?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Just think about whenever you hear guys talking about the stepladder, or whenever you watch a stepladder, what's the highest scoring game in the stepladder typically? It's typically the second game bowled by the victor in the first game. So if the 5 seed bowls the 4 seed in game 1 and wins 190 to 170, even if the 3 seed bowls 240, he's probably going to lose to the game 1 victor's 260. So ideally, you kind of want to be the 2 seed on a show. Whereas what Marshall's saying is, look at case in point, the playoffs now. Every one of these games is a 2-game match. Mm-hmm. You don't see any guys scrambling in the 7th and 8th frame of game 1 because they know they've got another entire game to bowl and they can at least try and free up in the zone that they're in. That's the mentality that a tournament leader deserves and never gets the opportunity to have in any format that the pinnacle level has chosen to use.
So the two seed has you said that it's the second game when the 5th seed bowls the 4th seed. So by the time they get to the 2 seed, they've bowled out their ass and now may come down to earth by the time they get to the or somebody comes down to earth by the time they get to the 2 seed. The 2 seed gets to run his course. Right. In 60% of the time. Yes. It works every time. Right.
And then there's
and then he's warmed up for the number 1 seed for the final show. I got you.
Exactly. And then there's other situations where the guy that wins the first game finds a trick or a slot or a spot on the lane that nobody else on the show can seem to see or figure out. And they usually either make it to the title match and win or the title match and lose at that point for a similar situation like that Ocho just said. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's it's very rare to see, somebody go out and shoot 11-29 like Learn did in 96 for 4 or things along those lines. But yes, typically the number 1 seed, it's the hardest place to win from. Yeah, and absolutely the facts back that.
In the chat, we got a comment from this smoke show Rochelle. Her name is. It says the ladies probably want to know if Marshall has a girlfriend.
I do not.
He does not. And Rochelle, I have to mention that you're the only lady in the chat. So Rochelle,
hey, Nicole's here too.
Marshall is single. Here. Oh, and Nicole's here. Nicole,
come on,
birthday 3 weeks ago. Marshall is single.
Your number 1 fan.
I thought you were my number 1 fan.
Rochelle's my number 1 fan.
She is. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, maybe yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. So
you're number 1 fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I know it's obviously unethical, maybe a little bit, and anybody can answer. I don't give a fuck. If you know that you're going to end up leading the tournament, go into the number 1 seed for the step-ladder finals, why don't you just fucking tank it and finish second?
Stop it.
Because you could tank it and finish out of the top 5.
It's like a $10,000 or $15,000 difference usually. I want that extra $10,000 guaranteed.
That's right.
That's right. I mean, I didn't know. That's why I'm
saying, man. I want if someone says like, here, just bowl okay, and here's $10,000. Okay, you might lose. You might lose out on a chance of 25, but you still have that chance. Okay.
There's also the chance of tanking it and then finishing 6th.
Right.
And then missing the top 5.
Yeah, if I shoot 140 and finish 6th, I promise.
Because no one else is tanking it.
Something is getting punched or broken.
Right, and not to mention, Rob,
whether it's me or the object, I don't know.
Right.
I can't even imagine sandbagging in league.
Like Ocho?
Like that's like I just wouldn't do it. I can't. I couldn't imagine trying
you'll
to
just
execute
suck
a shot
is what you're doing
with the purpose of not trying to achieve perfection. Like what? That'd be like getting over a golf ball and saying, "I got 130 in. You know what? I'm going to try and skull a driver right now."
Nobody walks up to that shot. It's like I'm going to duff this. I'm going to make sure I make blue.
I'd rather chip my next one out of the Jagon than have
it. What they're going to do is they're going to duff it, drop it into the ball, hit it on the green, and make that putt and say, "I made birdie."
Right.
No one's trying to make bogey in golf.
But yeah, that's what I feel.
I've laid up from 100 before, so it's fine. It happens.
I've laid up from like 60.
I want to play a tweener. Let me hit the lobber.
I mean, you get the best bowlers in the world, who are the most accurate bowlers in the game. If you double and get 9, you're going to be the top seed. Well, it's just double and just throw it down the straight, the middle of the lane just to keep it in play. I mean, you don't think it's ever happened before?
I'm sure it's happened, but
you wouldn't do it. Yeah.
I do know
one maybe. For my ego.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I do know one bowler.
Good for you.
That specifically made sure that he missed a PBA television show.
I know that too.
And
Well, at least explain the scenario. Let us figure it out. Don't
you tell the story. I'm gonna go grab another Sprite.
You got it. Grab your dirty Sprite. Or your brown Sprite. Sorry. Can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was 1995. Nope, 1996.
Steelers went 10-6 that year.
One of the most one of the best bowlers ever, Mike Newman. Mike Newman is bowling the Johnny Petraglia Open at Carolier Lanes that year and just mauling them, just destroying everybody. Had an epic match against Amleto, 300, 299 that week.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say Carla's here too. So there's 3 females here. That's
Carla. Marshall is single, and I'm sure Carla's very pretty. So
I remember what you're talking about, Johnny. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So and
is this qualifying, JP, or is this
this
like
is this is the tournament. This is through match play.
Oh, okay.
And with about 4 games left, Newman basically said, "Hey, no way, I'm making this show." At that time, I think he had about 110 pin lead on the field, and he said, "Yeah, I can't make the show, no way." And he backed up.
He had to go somewhere.
He would have lost. He would have had to give back his amateur status at that time.
Oh, so we ratted everything. No, well, I mean,
They backed himself out of a TV show. And if anybody that knows Mike Newman, is that who you were thinking?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Anybody that knows Mike Newman knows that if Mike Newman didn't make that show that week, he didn't want to make that show that week.
So what would have happened if he makes the show, he becomes an instant pro? Like, does he not get to qualify for other tournaments? I don't know any of this stuff. I'm a real athlete.
Well, that was back when the TAT and the high roller were absolutely huge.
Absolutely.
And there was more money made in amateur ball than there was professional.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of the reason that Tim Mack had not got his card at that time either.
Yeah.
Similar reasons.
So much money in amateur ball, and back then it made no sense to.
So it would have been like how Happy Gilmore won the Waterbury Open and then all of a sudden became a pro. He wouldn't have wanted to, you know.
He's going to be on the
tour,
tour.
Marshall.
That's super.
Chris Watkins wants to know, Marshall, how do you balance between staying focused on your goals and also having time for fans who may ask you for a picture or for you to sign something, etc.? Is there a preferred way for fans to interact with the pros?
That's a great question.
That's a very good question, actually. Because all we do is bowl, so we have plenty of time during the day. So I guess the best way to interact would be either going bowl and pro-am. You can talk to us, approach us. And a lot of pro-ams, like, people are kind of scared to come up and talk to us, but we're humans. Like, we have a conversation with anybody. Also, I had to say hi to Carla. She said hi. So, but I think the best platform to reach out on would probably be Instagram. But, we get a lot of messages, so sometimes we don't get to them, and sometimes we forget. But I think the best way to interact with people would be show up to a tournament and either bowl a pro-am or like go watch and spectate. And it's kind of, I put out a tweet about this. Is like, bowling's so great because we are accessible and we won't say no to like a picture or autograph like in other sports. But there's also times where we just get done with a frustrating block where we just miss the show and we kind of need like 15 minutes to kind of get back down to earth.
Right.
And after that, we're all for signing pictures, taking autographs. I mean, we've spent, after EJ and I won the doubles, we spent an hour taking pictures and autographs. And we had practice session for the World Series that day too. So, we almost missed out on that, but we were just, we appreciate everybody that comes out and supports us. And, we're just humans. Like, come up and say hi. And
is it inconsiderate to catch you at the Waffle House or at your the steak joint? Is that like?
I mean, me personally, no. I mean, if someone comes up while I'm eating a meal and says, "Hey, I want a picture," I said, "That's fine." I was actually flying. I think I was flying back here from somewhere. I was in San Francisco. I was in the United Club in the lounge, and it's dead quiet. And all of a sudden, a kid comes up and says, "Are you Marshall?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Can I get a picture?" And there's 15 people around me. And all of a sudden, we started talking bowling for a while. It caught me so off guard. I actually started sweating kind of out of nerves and like stuff like that. But it caught me so off guard. I was just like, "Oh, hey."
So that's you in your regular environment. You're like, "I'm just a dude hanging out," and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh shit, I really am kind of a big deal here, I guess." So it throws the ego. That's a freaking great ego stroke, man. Hell yeah.
Next to me, asked about bowling and stuff like that, and telling their bowling stories, and I just sat and BS with them for an hour, and then it was like, my flight's coming up, I got to go, and it was. it just caught me so off guard. It was pretty
But
funny.
that dude's got a cool story to tell too. That's the
Yeah.
other thing, man. Like that's what's really cool about it. Like it's the oh man, I saw this guy after a show and we shot the shit for 20 minutes and had a dark Sprite, I guess is what you call them, something.
Special edition.
Right. I mean, no, but it's like that's the coolest thing about it too. Like there's it's theater and drama, man. You can influence somebody else. And they're going to have an awesome story when they go back to their league, when they freaking use that big red wiffle bat again. Damn it. Oh.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example of that. Sorry, go ahead. Marshall.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, this is not a dig at Mookie at all, but I bowled the Players Regional with him a few months ago. And I get the reason why he did it, but, like, he wouldn't sign pictures or wouldn't sign autographs to take pictures. But if he would, at his level, if he would allow that, he would have been there in the center for a solid 3 hours.
Right. I get that.
Like, I totally get it. Like, I don't blame him at all. But like any bowlers, like let's say even Bellman was in that region, and he would sit there and sign because I don't feel like bowling's big enough where we can say like no to autograph and still be respected. So if we say no, we just look like assholes.
Right.
And that's the best thing about bowling is that we're not going to tell you no. Like you can come take a picture, and as long as it's not mid-competition, because we're not allowed to, we actually get fined if we're taking pictures and autographs during qualifying. But afterwards, we'll hang around the center for 30, 40 minutes and sign autographs, take pictures, and all that stuff. But like in Mookie's case, I totally get it. Like he would literally be stuck there for 3 hours.
Yeah. And
just it wouldn't work out great for him. So I totally get it. But that's why bowling is so great.
Is it not fair in life that
you say no?
Is it not fair that Mookie Betts can do that and be an MVP in the freaking Major League Baseball? Like I played a lot of sports, and I just feel like it's not fair. Like he stole a lot of athletic talent from so many people to be able to do all that shit. And I feel like the universe has to even it out somehow.
He's just one of those freaks of natures that comes around.
It's like he could have a dart in his hand and throw bulls all day, something. It's just not right.
Well, I'm sure he's good. He's one of those guys that's good at everything he does. It's like, I haven't played pool in a while, and he freaking
just blows the rack through, runs the table.
I haven't played darts in a while. Hits double 20 to close you out, sort of thing. Like he's
just been on a date in a while, banged your wife.
And and the best part on him too is like he's very down to earth and humble dude. Like he's a great dude. Like just.
Didn't he throw a 300 at the World Series? Didn't he?
Or anything like that? What's that?
Didn't he throw a 300 at the bowling World Series?
Yeah, he shot 300 at the World Series one year in Reno.
That's
so great.
Yeah, and
it's pure jealousy. I mean, like he needs a mask.
Of course,
like he's just a very good human. Like he's such a good dude.
I know. Stop being so cool, damn it.
He grew up. He grew up 15 miles.
I'm trying to find something to hate you for, but
he's like Sam Elliott's mustache. Like, it's stop being the best at everything. Like, come on.
Reference.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, I hung around Bradley Bowl a lot because my mom worked there in Winslow, Connecticut, which is pretty much no longer. It's a fucking entertainment center now with like 2 lanes in it. But I digress. But back in the 80s, I met guys like Pete McCordick. I met Pete Weber. I met Marshall Holman. I bowled pro-am with Bo. I got his autograph there. It's super nice to me as a kid.
Yeah.
Matt Carlson. I met a lot of the greats. Back when Hartford, Springfield, what it's called, it was a big tour stop there. It was a great Hartford Open. Then it moved to the Tons Classic after that. But that was one of the premier bowling alleys at the time. And you're right, they're just so accessible even back then. When bowling was probably more popular than it is now, obviously in the 80s. But still, the guys were down to earth, super easy to talk to, and didn't mind, especially talking to kids, kids that looked up to them at that time. I never had a bad story meeting any professional bowler at all. So, you get stories from even wrestlers, because I think wrestling is probably the closest thing to bowling travel wise, because a lot of the guys will drive to the next town. And would ride with other people, and it's just a daily grind. Like you said, they're getting on an event at 10 o'clock at night, and they're on the 3-4 hours to the next stop, and nothing else is open. So there's a lot of similarities between wrestling and bowling, which is funny because the WWE title gets awarded to the winner of the playoffs. But a lot of wrestlers don't want to be bothered. A lot of baseball players, hockey players, football players, they're for whatever reason they think they're on a different level. But bowlers have always been approachable. They're just salt of the earth people, really, just average people.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're still a human being, and I don't care how much money's your bank account. I don't care what kind of successes you've had. If you're a good human, then I respect you. But if that gets your head and you just become this egotistical prick, then all right, I don't care if I ever talk to you again, sort of thing. And at the World Series, we actually got to hang out with, do like a meet and greet and hang out with Jimmy Allen, the country music singer, and he was very down to earth, very, very good person, and he was just a fun guy to hang out with, and that's all I care about. I don't care what you've done in your life. I'm a judgment. I judge content of character, and if you let those things get to your head, then I've been guilty of it. Like I've kind of let something go to my head, but I've grown up and I've learned, and the support you have is the reason where you're at today.
Right.
And without the support, you wouldn't be who you are. So you got to have that support system, and you got to respect it and appreciate it, sort of thing. If you can't appreciate that, then all right, see you. Don't ever care.
Right.
Hey, without naming names, is there anybody that you did see that got a few extra commas in their bank account and a decimal point in the other direction, that all of a sudden they started acting a little aloof or a little Bigfoot Arrow britches, or no names? Is it a thing that, again, you know the people because you guys meet every week, or you don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I've definitely seen it.
Nice.
Not really not on the bowling platform so much, but like.
Oh, I don't care where. I just want I want to know. That's all.
I've definitely met people that have, were pretty humble when it started and then got big, and all of a sudden
it's show and tell, and it's a look at me kind of thing.
They're also young, like it's a new experience for them, so they're still trying to learn. But once they grow up, they kind of figure it out. But
you hope they see that too. Yeah,
it's easy to get that ego at a young age. Feel like you're kind of better than everybody else. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all going to die, and we all got bills to pay, sort of thing. But it's, you got to grow up and respect the people that have supported you and have followed you and have been fans of your career. So, I've seen it, and hopefully the ones I've seen grow up a little bit and kind of start to appreciate things rather than take things for granted.
And plus you learn from it too, because it's almost like, well, I know not to do that. Almost, in a way, it's a fun way to learn. Be like, well, guess what? I'm not going to be like.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody has a bad day. Everyone can be in a bad mood. You just, you try to put that away, because, this person may only see you once in their lifetime. So you got to make a good impression on them.
Yeah. And that's kind of the hard part of what we do too, is like, sometimes we just get done with a bad block and pull ourselves off the show or pull ourselves out of match play, and we're pretty pissed off. And, people have kind of come up and ask for autographs and stuff like that. And I said, give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And I've turned into an asshole for that, but I just needed my time, needed my second. And then after that, absolutely, I'll take pictures of anybody, sign anything. I know some guys that have, I've talked to fans that had bad experiences, pros, and I've actually taken them up to the guy they had a bad experience with, and they had a great time.
Right.
So it's.
Yeah, you're probably like, no way, he wouldn't do that, because you know them so well. You're like, wait, no way, that guy's the great guy.
Think about the heat of that moment. Like, think about the kid who's been trying to watch Marshall all day for 8 games. And now the kid finally peeks between 2 random tall people bodies, sees Marshall coming up the stairs all 41 and 2, goes, ooh, now's my chance to go talk to Marshall.
And Marshall just
went big score for 130 to miss the number by probably less than 10. And the kid's like, Marshall, can I talk to you? And Marshall's like he would never say this, but I should have used somebody else, but not now, kid. And there are some pros that obviously I've seen, instead of taking or having a presence of mind in the heat of a moment as shitty as that, to say, hey, son, or hey, young lady, give me 5 minutes. I just got to run my stuff to the locker room, and I'll be right back.
That makes you more of a champion than anything, to even have your
and then beat your head against the wall all the way.
Yeah. It's so difficult to do, because we've dedicated our lives to this. So it means more to us than people realize. So
dude, it's putting food on your table. It's paying your bills. This is your job. This is your work.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with Simonelli a while ago, and he says, he put it the best way for me. He said, Imagine you just got done with a 50-hour work week and your boss comes up to you and says, hey, bud, you did pretty good this week. You did a great job. You did everything you could, but I'm not going to pay you for this week.
Holy dude.
Somebody
that should be promoted.
You know how many people would be so bent out of shape over that for days?
Yeah.
We get over it in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Not even that.
Yeah.
You have to do it without working. You have to practice.
Yeah.
You have to set yourself up. It's like we just go to work and then we leave, and then that's it.
You're spending thousands of dollars to be
before you work, and then do all that work, and then say, "Oh, here's the money you owed to come here to do your work."
All the travel, all the hotels. I mean, the whole grind. Yeah, I mean that's.
This is why it's
practice. We don't get paid to work out. We don't get paid for all that. We get paid the week we perform.
Right.
If we perform well, we get, we get paid. If not, then we put all that work in for $0.
Dude, this story is so good, and that damn show, How We Roll, is so bad. Dude, this is the story.
Yeah, I want to answer this guy too.
We
both have an answer for Derek's question.
I don't have an answer because I don't bowl any bad games. So sorry, Derek.
Keep your head up. I believe in you. Not asking for an autograph, just trying to build you up. How does that affect you? It really depends on how soon it is, to be honest. Because right afterwards, I'm tunnel vision, just I need a second. But if you give it a few minutes, I really appreciate it. The I believe in you, it means more to us than anybody could imagine. It really does. And like I said, if I just get done Big Four and miss the show, I'm going to need a few minutes, but afterwards I can appreciate the comment for sure, to its entirety.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is that we kind of need a second to collect ourselves again, because we're so focused on that shot that just cost us thousands and thousands of dollars that
I don't know how you decompress in the 5 minutes, honestly. I almost feel like that's a talent in itself to take your head out of it in only 5 minutes and decompress. I know you're doing it for the person, but
that's
still,
why
man, I'd have about 10 holes in the wall before I freaking came out and was all right, my hand swelled up and here, I can't write. I'll write lefty.
Yeah, it's just you do it enough times, you kind of get over it, and you know that the next week's still coming. So it's
But that lends itself to being a professional, and that's the whole point of when you call yourself a professional. This is the actions, and that's why it shouldn't be taken lightly. And the word professional means something, and I hope it doesn't get discredited either, because that's literally what makes you guys the best in what you do. That's the whole point of being a professional.
Yeah, it comes with a price tag, and I don't think people realize how stressful it is to do what we do, and.
What a story. What a story, man. What a documentary. None of this blog shit, man. We got to do this freaking full freaking picture, cinema style, docu style, and none of this gentlemanly game gimmick that they did a bunch of years ago. This is a real deal, man.
That's a great point out. It's how come we don't have an Ultimate Fighter for PBA? I think, people would get into you guys a lot more if they knew what you go through every day, if they saw you on the road, if they knew what kind of person you were.
The grind, the mental capacity, man, it's why look, if it was easy, we'd all do it. If it was a house shot, we'd all be out there with the big red wiffle bat. That's the point. Yeah. And that's what you said before, Marshall. You said that's why you see these same guys in the freaking finals, in the step ladders, man, the same 20, 30 guys. They're the best in the world for a reason, but how? Come on, man. There's the story.
That's exactly right. I mean,
what do they say? The biggest course is the 6 inches between your ears, right, JP?
Yeah, that's not right.
So, I mean, this would be great to improve the popularity of the sport. I mean, Rob and Randy only have 5-10 minutes to tell a story, or even just play a video package and let people know where you're from, what happened last week or last month, or what last title you won. But I mean, there's ESPN has 30 for 30s. They have video packages during the football game, like pregame show. They have an interview, whatever, like a sit down for 10 minutes. We need more of that in bowling to get you guys out there, to get your names out there, to get you recognized, to get people to invest in you and in wanting you to win. It's.
And we're not saying anything they don't already know. I mean, obviously. It's like, but it's almost like, but it's so right there. I feel like it's just so
it is right there.
There's still enough of a following for that, and then that attracts more because find some rich guy. I don't freaking know.
It wouldn't take much for Fox Sports to do something like that, to be quite honest. I mean, if they really want to invest
in Saturday Sunday thing, a Saturday 2 hours, then the Sunday.
That's all you need to do. It's not that difficult to make the sport more visible and more popular. Really.
There was actually a documentary on Netflix for a while. I think it was called League of Ordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was good. That was when they were talking about when the owners came in and the Microsoft people, and they wanted Pete to do his thing. Reasoner was in that. Did you ever notice that, JP?
I did, and they highlighted 3 or 4 professionals, I believe, throughout the course of that season.
Wayne Webb was one of them, and
Pete, Barnes and Wayne Webb.
Mm-hmm.
They showed Wayne Webb doing the karaoke gimmick
and all the ups and downs and where all the money went throughout all those years. But they really gave you an idea of how good you have to be in order to make ends meet out there. And it's very much the same way, but now it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, even less guys can make a living out there.
Yeah.
You know what they did? They made it so they tried to compact so much into that 80, 90-minute show because they were also emphasizing that thank God for the Microsoft folk, or else there wouldn't be a PBA. And then they spent half the time with that. I just feel like just the professionalism, the grind. I mean, there's so many golf shows on about what the highlights and everything. Man, there's so many good stories. It's it. It's the story, the theater, the drama. That's what they need, and it has everything.
I think here's another thing we need in.
I get a little wound up there. Don't mind me.
You're good. You gonna flex again or what?
About 20 more times. What do you think?
All right. Here's the thing that nobody sees, but until you're on the tour, there we go. Is what we get paid monthly from sponsors. People see the tour earnings and how much we make out there, and they kind of add up the math. Like, it doesn't make sense, but people don't realize we get paid from all of our sponsors. And I've always kind of said, it's like, the sponsorship money pays the bills, and the money you make on tour is kind of the funny money. Like, you can go on vacations with it or stuff like that.
The sponsors is what keeps you out there on each week. That's where you can.
In other sports, everybody knows how much money this football player makes or this baseball player makes, and blah blah blah. But nobody knows what we make from company sponsors. And we're not getting rich, but we make enough to pay the bills. And then once you make it, then it becomes a lot easier because you're getting that check month to month to help out with it, either expenses or bills or whatever, but nobody knows exactly how much we make. So I feel like if we're more transparent with that, then more people will be interested. Say if I make it to this level, I can get this amount a month. If I make it to this level, I can get this contract. If I make it to Belmo's level, that's his contract. That's what I can make before I even tie my shoes up.
You just said the magic word there, Marshall, contract, because everybody says, he signed a $10 million contract. And for some reason, it's still called sponsorship, as if you're still selling yourself or something like that. If they called it contract, I think that adds a little bit of credibility to it instead. I mean, maybe I'm just splitting hairs here, but that's a guarantee. You get that for that. I don't know whether it's the half a year, the tournament season, but and then they can pay attention to these guys are already signed, literally legit signed. So then you got to go out and then perform and then earn your bowling keep on top of it, which adds again a credence, but more professionalism to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had kind of a rough couple of years, just tour wise and personally, and things are finally starting to get back together. But I live on my own. I own a nice house. I drive a nice truck. I have another car, kind of partially between my mom and my dad, but just like a commuter car that we all bought in on just to, run around and save some money on gas. But, I have a lot of nice things that it's not because of tour earnings, it's because of these contracts that I can afford them. So,
you can't bank on something you don't know you're going to earn. That's the other thing. You don't know what you're going to win.
We're not making millions, but we definitely make enough to pay bills and do good for ourselves. So
absolutely.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it.
That's what people don't see.
Yeah.
So even though we have a shitty year, we still make money enough to be able to afford pretty decent things.
But again, the story is in your shitty year, you're still putting in the same amount of work, the same grind, the same practice, and that's where, like, it's not like you just walk into the bowling alley and go, yeah, I'm just going to try this tournament this week and go, my sponsor paid for it, and then hope you cash. No, that's like you because your sponsor's depending on you to get to the freaking finals anyway. So that's there's a responsibility that comes in. That's why I feel like contract is almost like I signed a contract to perform for this company, and that's what I'm training to do. And it's still out there, man.
In my position, like I've earned my keep. Like I've proven myself. So, I've signed a contract that for a number that I feel like I deserve for what I've done in my career. And also, by the way, Phyllis, yes, absolutely.
So I was just going to say, now I'm thinking about the sausage.
Sausage
and I know the sausage and peppers is like 8 minutes from here.
It's phenomenal.
Hey, did Rob tell you how much he charges for you to be on this show? Because I think that's coming out of a contract or something.
Hi, Mom. I feel much better. Thank you. Hopefully Marshall doesn't get what I had. It went away. It was really down in the dumps. I missed league last night. That was my mom real quick. So
I got a strong immune system, so it's all good.
But no, Ma, I feel much better. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I just wasn't feeling hot.
And the rash went away too.
Yeah, the syphilis is gone.
I sent them a cream, Ocho cream.
Clean bill of health.
All right. With that said, we are going to wrap it up for the night. Marshall, I absolutely appreciate you being here. And I'm sorry about last week. I get sick every goddamn month. So
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. Shut the fuck up, Ouch.
You've been sick for
we must be off next week.
I've been sick all year, for Christ's sakes. But yeah. But yes, Marshall, thank you for being here, man. Pleasure to talk to you. You're such a great guy, down to earth. And like I said, this is why I love bowlers, because overall in any sport, bowlers are really just genuine great people. Like, just whether it's 80s, 90s, or now, it's just, like I said, salt of the earth guys. So thank you for being here.
Anytime. Absolutely. Be back on again in a heartbeat.
Sounds good. Johnny P, what's your Twitter handle, buddy?
At JPJunior07.
You can also follow him on Facebook under Johnny Petraglia, no junior, just the one and only. Big red wiffle bat. Say that 4 times fast. What's your Twitter handle?
I already said it, but I think I'm going to change it to James Vanderpeek. I think we're going to go with James Vanderpeek. Rob, tell us what it is. Tell us how, and emphasize it.
It should be flexing on him.
Should be Flex McGee. Yeah. It is at the
Still going.
R Ocho.
Still going.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RadRobGaming. You can follow the show on Twitter at StraightUp5POD. That's the number 5.
Hey, next time, shave those armpit pubes.
I wouldn't know where to start.
Says no.
It'd be like a 2 week. It'd be a 2 week ordeal. I'd miss league with my big red wiffle bat.
Guys, we appreciate everybody hanging out here in the Facebook chat and watching us on YouTube. We'll be back next week for another edition of Straight Up 5 with the one and only Mr. Johnny Petraglia Jr. And and the Ocho. And I guess I'll be here too, unless I'm sick. But we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Thank you for.
And I love the wrong file. God damn it! I am the absolute.
What else is new?
This is why we have nice things.
Thank you. Yes, Marshall, we are the true professionals of podcasting, and we just ruined your credibility by you being on this show. Still live on Facebook, by the way. Rob can't get the damn right file, so we're going to end the show now.
Thanks for listening to Straight Up 5. If you would like to send
God damn it, we're out of here.
God, why?
into Johnny Jr., send us an email at straightup5@gmail.com. That's straight up FIVE@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.